Image copyright Reuters. Image caption Brandon Lewis replaces Sir Patrick McLaughlin as Conservative Party chairman. Brandon Lewis has been made the new chairman of the Conservative Party in Theresa May's reshuffle. Mr. Lewis, the immigration minister, replaces Sir Patrick McLaughlin, with James Cleverly as his deputy. Karen Bradley moves from Culture to become Northern Ireland Secretary, replacing James Brokenshire, who has quit for health reasons. Justice Secretary David Lidington has been moved to the Cabinet Office and will deputise for Mrs May at PMQs. David Gauck will succeed Mr Lidington as Justice Secretary, switching from work and pensions, where his responsibilities included universal credit. When prime ministers make several changes to their ministerial lineup at the same time, it is known as a reshuffle. New ministers can be appointed and existing ones moved or fired. Mr. Lewis, the Great Yarmouth MP, has been a minister since 2012 and is a qualified barrister and former local councillor. In his role as chairman, he will be tasked with broadening the Conservatives' appeal after they lost their Commons majority in June's general election. He will be assisted by Mr. Cleverly, the pro-Brexit backbench MP for Braintree, and a new lineup of vice-chairs with responsibility for different areas has also been announced. The replacement for Mr. Brokenshire, who is awaiting surgery for a lung condition, will be at the heart of attempts to end the political deadlock at Stormont. Image caption Theresa May post with the new CCHQ team outside Number 10. Image caption James Brokenshire had been Northern Ireland Secretary since July 2016. Home Secretary Amber Rudd, Chancellor Philip Hammond, Brexit Secretary David Davis and Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson are staying in their jobs. Jeremy Hunt, who had been touted for a possible move, remains in his job, which has been renamed Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. Also not moving is Communities Secretary Sajid Javid, but the word housing has been added to the title of his department. Labour said Mrs May should focus on the pressures in the NHS rather than what it said was a desperate PR exercise. It also criticised what it said was the revolving door in the Ministry of Justice. The reshuffle, which will continue into Tuesday, is being seen as an opportunity for Mrs May to promote more women, with female ministers only currently making up 6 of the 23 full members of her top team. She is also under pressure to preserve the balance between Brexit skeptics and enthusiasts, while showing the government has a purpose, beyond leaving the EU, which critics say is monopolising ministers' time. The risk and reward of reshuffle. Laura Kunsberg, BBC political editor. Prime ministers do not, as Theresa May well knows, have as much power to shape their fortunes as the trappings of the Grand Office suggests. However, one of the things they can control is the timing of reshuffles, and at least the initial set of decisions. They are the moment when the boss does the hiring and firing of their team to punish or reward and to position supporters or enemies into the most politically convenient spots. Whether reshuffles are forced upon leaders by political accidents, such as scandals or resignations, or a desire to refresh the look and direction of the government, it is both. In this case, as with many other big set-piece moments in politics, they are times of huge potential reward, but huge risk too. Read the rest of Laura's blow. Changes, which will be Mrs May's third reshuffle since becoming PM in July 2016, were triggered by her sacking of Damien Green last month as first Secretary of State. Mr. Green was fired from his position, a role in which he was effectively Mrs May's deputy, in December after making misleading statements to the press about pornography found on his office computer in 2008. Mr. Lidington has replaced Mr. Green in the Cabinet Office but has not been made First Secretary. Downing Street confirmed he would stand in at Prime Minister's questions and take over a significant number of the committees that Mr. Green chaired. Social Care and Health by Hugh Pym, BBC Health editor. There have been increasing calls for an integration of health and social care in England. The two areas are already combined in Northern Ireland and Scotland. Cuts in social care funding in England have been blamed by some as a factor in the pressures on the NHS, with delays discharging medically fit patients from hospital caused by problems finding social care provision. The Department of Health already has responsibility for social care, but it is run by local authorities, partly paid for by council tax, and the Central Whitehall grant comes through the Department for Communities and Local Government. It is not clear whether that grant will now move across to the rebranded Department of Health and Social Care. A government policy paper on social care, known as a Green Paper, is due next summer, and it seems likely that Jeremy Hunt will now play a central role in preparing that document, rather than it staying with the Cabinet Office.